So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. The only road of life is liberation. The only path, the only thing to do. Nothing else. Everything else, relationships, security, personal importance, acceptance, rejection, all of these serve the sole purpose of keeping me distracted from the only goal there is: liberation. May I be blessed with the constant remembrance of this. May I have the wisdom to shun all these things aside and keep myself focused on liberation. So good morning once again. Welcome to Satsang. Just reminding everyone, we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your questions, it comes directly to me. I will answer your question now. So, hello, namaste, thanks for the effort of making this beautiful content. I have one question for you. How to deal with nasty entities that enters the body-mind consciousness and totally hijacked all my body-mind functioning in a destructive, aggressive way like a parasite. I've been having it for more than 10 years. It's so painful and exhausting. I'm out of moves and really tired. All I want in this life is freedom. I've tried most of the spiritual approaches, but nothing worked out. I hope if you can share some light in this, peace and love. Then I asked to elaborate a little bit more. I honestly don't know what kind of this entity. I've tried to investigate it uncountable times, but it seems like a dead end. The closest thing to describe it is something has no shape, but so powerful and aggressive. Another thing is there is some places in this body feels like the entity or entities more concentrated. Inside my head is solid like a rock, and it's alive, pumping all day, 24/7. Also in the eyes and throat, it's like locking me in the upper area from throat to above. I feel like prisoner. Plus the mental suffering, a non-stop commentator with all bad, horrible thoughts and fears. For a long time I didn't have a genuine laugh or love or anything beautiful. Keep playing all childhood traumas, and I'm totally lost in these aggressive behaviors. Lately I changed the way of my investigation from Ramanan, Papaji and Muji way of asking who am I and to whom is this, the only question, and that is, are you capable of love? Okay. But I feel like I'm going in blindly and really need guidance. Would appreciate if you can say something about this. It is 2 a.m. here in Saudi Arabia and I have work in the morning, must sleep. Okay. One last thing I would like to add, in my first months of spiritual journey, that was 3 years ago, I was following Muji on YouTube intensely and praying to God and crying, and someday exactly at Christmas night, suddenly the space opened and all my head got sucked into the heart, and the Lord in my heart is so great, these entities no match to him. It was so powerful and profound that gave me hope this is possible, and I'm hooked. It was for a very few minutes, then everything came back again. Yes. Well, this is a kind of subject we don't see every day, but it's a very important subject. I touched on it a few times, and let's see where it leads us this time. But from one hand, we see seekers who deal with these bright light entities that are supporting seekers of truth and in their onward journey. They have more or less this knowledge about dark entities and these things, but they are a little bit trapped in this warlike situation and they get distracted by this. And others who have no experience of it get sucked into these complications and suffer a lot because of this. And let's get one thing straight. These entities, these dark entities, they do exist as these light entities, and it is as real as the dream we are living. It's inside the dream. Nonetheless, it is there. And as you have helps to help you to move on into your spiritual path, you have those who have no interest in for you to evolve in the spiritual path for many, many reasons, for different types of reasons. And this is all accurate. So, and depending on your potential as a seeker, the higher it is, the more attacked is a very strong word. It can be used, but it has many different ways of expressing itself. So, as you are not paying attention, unaware of any spiritual quest, if you have this potential, you are being seen by these interests, and you are being followed, and you are being interfered with. Your worldly experience will be conditioned to this. And there's many examples of this, of those who have potential. And prior to that, in their growing up, families destroyed, a lot of suffering involved, people not getting together, parents and even grandparents and whatever, and creating a lot of situations to make sure that when you arrive at that point, you will not be able to grow up in a sustained way that will enable you to awaken the highest in you. And there are many levels of these workers. Those who are there just as parasites feeding, because they feed on your energy. Let's keep it simple. That they don't participate a lot. They're just feeding themselves from your suffering and from the suffering which is caused around you. So their level of interest is just to keep you distracted, to keep you suffering in worldly situations, because that is their food. Then you have others that have a part in distracting you. So many of you are seduced into certain spiritual contexts that have really nothing to do with what you thought they have. Even what you thought they have is completely out of line, and they are seducing you. So you get attracted to these situations where you will get tainted in some way. You will get mixed with these higher presences of these dark expressions that can be individual. They can have an identity, a presence, or they can be just a big mass to influence masses. I don't know the word in English for this. But usually it is about distraction and seducing you through your worldly values, and using your worldly values, your greed, your lust, your low self-esteem, whatever, to entangle you into contexts that will not allow you to get more pure, but the opposite. I don't remember the word of this. To become more entangled with that which doesn't respect you, and to take you to contact with these higher bodies, mass bodies of these dark energies that are there influencing a mass. You'll become a mass, and you will pass this on to others, and this will keep, as a group, vibration low. And if this is not enough, usually it is, for the majority it is, then there is, like I said, many types. So these ones, they are the most simple to deal, not sophisticated. Then you have stronger ones, those who come when there is no way to distract you, you are really focusing. And then these more aggressive entities come into play. And there's many levels of these ones also. But the bottom line is always the same. And these things, they feed on, if they are distracting you, they are exploring your impurities, your lust, your greed, your need for self-worth, all of this. If this is not working, they will use force in some way, but bottom line is to scare you in some sense. And then the kind of circumstances that will be experienced, innerly, outerly, whatever that means, they will depend on your fears, on your weaknesses, and this will get explored into the maximum. And sometimes it's a bit of both. A bit of both. Distraction, seduction, and being aggressive, like it was guiding you. So here you can go, here you cannot go, and you will feel like if you're intensifying your spiritual process, it will intensify the aggressiveness. There are many types of aggressiveness, but the most effective I've seen, there's two. There's the one where it will drive you crazy, like you will start losing your mental balance, and the destruction aspect of it. It will break you or something like that. And of course, these things don't reveal themselves very clearly. It's usually very subtle. So as they reveal more and more, this reveals also their level of desperation and your level of focus. Because if you're having a lot of focus, then their revelation will be stronger to you. And yes, there's many other factors involved. I will not be able to go into everyone, or else I will not move into this subject. But it is there, it is real. And if you're a seeker of truth and you haven't seen anything of this, well, probably you're not much of a threat, and you're probably not doing much which is threatening. And what is that which is threatening? It is assuming your part as a seeker of truth in an intense, strong way, as to have the potential to awaken your inner fire. Because your flame, the flame of the true process, of the work of the seeker of truth, is a flame that grows and changes the vibration of the whole. And this is the problematic part. And even so, these entities also, they intervene in a way to keep seekers separated from other seekers, serious ones. And like I said, aggressive ways or subtle ways. In the subtle ways, they do this by exploring your weaknesses, your judgments, your evaluations, so it will create ways to separate you. In aggressive ways also, because the more they are together, the more problematic it is in the whole vision. And they are seeing this in the whole vision, because at energetic level, at the vibration level, it is whole. It's not individuals. So individuals don't matter. And for them, the more you suffer, the better, because more food you produce for them to absorb. So win-win situation. So in indirect approach, in the subtle approach, they count on your impurities, like I've explained, in your difficulties, in your greed, your low self-esteem, your greed for power, name, fame, exception, love, whatever. They explore indirectly. You don't see them working through you. And they take you to certain spiritual experiences where you will be more in contact with this, imagining that you are being in contact with light beings and all of that, which is very common these days. Light beings have a day and a time to appear to everyone, give a speech, and all of that. But the majority of that is just these entities working their way. And these days, they are apparently stronger and they are getting more results. I even sometimes say that if seekers of truth were as committed as these entities are, these entities would never have a chance. So in a way, they are giving a good example as to work non-stop 24/7. So the subtle way, this is what's being explored. So another reason why it is important to work on yourself and to purify your mind. And when this doesn't work, this subtle way, the other way counts on your fear, on your sensibility of being impressed. And your fear is their biggest weapon. And they will explore from the little things to the big things. And this is another reason why, not the reason why, but another reason why it is important for a seeker of truth to conquer its fears. So in a sense, these entities, they are playing a role in your quest for liberation because they are bringing the challenges to you in a very enhanced way. And either you shrink, you coward yourself and you go back to your little hole. This is usually what happens. Or you stand up and fight. Fight doesn't mean the same as usually fight means. It means something else. It means continuing in a non-friction way, still holding on to love, to high vibration, to God, to devotion, despite their presence. But we'll get to that. So fear is their biggest weapon, and they will explore all your weaknesses, all your dependencies. They will touch where it hurts, and they will make it intense. And another aspect which is very important to understand in these situations, and I'm talking for those who are going through this and those who will still be going through this, whatever that means. Your intimacy, what you call your intimacy, this intimate space of perception where your emotions, your thoughts are seen, sensations of the body. This is a space, an energetic space. Let's call it like this to simplify. But it's not as intimate as you imagine. This place here is more or less like your computer. It can be hacked. It is hacked. So this is another reason why it is important to make the commitment to liberation despite whatever happens. Because your thoughts will change, and it can change because your motivations were not pure enough. And if you give up, it remains like that. If you continue, you can purify them. So this is why you need to maintain a steady, a firm decision. You decided once and it doesn't change. And because it can be hacked, and it might be hacked. And as it is hacked, sensations are manipulated, emotions are manipulated, thoughts are manipulated. There's nothing which is there only yours. It can be done directly, with intent, or just by being exposed to other minds, to the let's call it group mind. It's the better expression I can find at this moment. So those who have gone through intense deep meditation, they have been able to see the thought forms entering the field of your mind, the limits, whatever, it's complicated, entering and creating an impression. And this can be just normal random things or very specific, or it can be used for these entities in a very specific way. They can take over your body also. A lot of things can happen. And if you look at this inner space as you, and the outer space as something a part of you, then you will not stand a chance, because as it is outside of you, you can still deal with it. When it comes from within, then you're being hacked. You're the prisoner. And it's not correct. By far, it's not correct. It's just a more close threat, but still, it's not holding on to you, but to those instruments, a perception. And they are manipulating it with a specific intent. And the more potential you have, the more desperate these things will be, and the more you persist, the more intense they will be. And this has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage is that these attacks will be more aggressive. The advantages is they will become more visible. You will see. So, and when it becomes more visible, you have two choices. Usually people take just one choice. 95% do the same choice, is to stop whatever they're doing spiritually and just behave. And there's a very small percent that sees. So these dark forces, dark energies, I feel their vibration, I feel their intent. You are pushing me in this direction. And you are trying to deviate me from that direction. So that direction is the one I have to go through. So this can be used in a constructive way. Or you can just behave and do what they are telling you. Because in a way, you're being trained. Like a horse is trained with a whip and is made to walk in circles. If the horse deviates, it gets a slash in the back. How is it? It takes the whip in his back. So he gets punished and punished and punished and punished and gets trained to behave. So there are many, many ways that this can happen. But for sure, they will be there. And then, yes, it's important. Also, this is important. Their behavior, it's not linear. Well, these lower entities, the first ones, they are more easily to deal with. They are more brute, less sophisticated, in a way less strong and less intelligent. As it moves higher, they become more sophisticated, more intelligent, and they work as instruments like everyone else, for that matter, but okay. And they can work individually or synchronized and used as tools as a whole. So usually when you're in that situation, many other things are happening at the same time. So if you're a seeker of truth and you have potential and you are trying to focus your level best in your quest for liberation, things will start moving randomly, different things appearing on the horizon, seemingly harmless, and eventually all condense into a big whole situation that swallows you up. So there's no innocent moves. And if you're not aware of this, then you're taken by surprise. And there's this reaction of seekers closing their eyes, stopping everything. I will not see. When it disappears, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. You're just maintaining your fears and not growing with it. Because outgrowing your fears is the purpose of all. And this is how you transcend the power that these entities have over you. So if you're not seeing anything of this, if you're seeing, it doesn't mean much also. It can, but depends. If you're not seeing, it's not determining anything also. Like, if I'm doing the right thing, then I will have to deal with this. Not really, because these intense things, they are more worried about group interactions, the gathering of these flames, more or less. It's complicated. There's not a specific context in which things work and operate and that's it. It's nothing like that. Many of these things just attack normal people, random people that have expression, so that they talk about this, so that this gets into the awareness of people and makes them more vulnerable. You see, a worldly person that has no knowledge of spirituality is is more protected in a way, because it's not a part of their world. But it's not for them that I'm talking. It's for those who are experience this or may experience this. And these things, when they are more sophisticated, they will act like, as they push aggressively now, they will leave the scene, let you feel safe again, everything is all right, so I have dealt with this, I've grown this, then they will come back again. Intensely, you're not waiting, the hit will be stronger. Or they will attack your loved ones or whatever. It can be many, many things. They can alternate as intense attacks, then seduction, bringing you things and stimulating you to embrace old and lower values. So it works in very, very different ways. And the only way you can have a clear vision of this is if you maintain your focus unflinchingly, like without distraction, and always trying to push it, to intensify your meditation. This is how you see it, because whatever pushings you're getting, either aggressive or subtle, that tries to deviate you from that direction, you will feel it immediately. And there are things that get to a point where they are overwhelming. You cannot deal, majority cannot, but even in these astral planes, a lot of things can be done. But the bottom line is, as into this physical existence, you can be bullied, you can be forced, you can be pushed, you can be manipulated, you can be threatened, but the last decision is yours. And if you're willing to die for your truth, no one can hold power on you. No one. But you have to be willing. So these things, either they will use your impurities, so keeping the focus on working on this is important, vital, or they will use your fears. So the more you are exposed to this, the more you can outgrow it. And your sense of powerlessness is something that feeds these entities, gives them strength before you. So these are the major points, the major points. keep playing old childhood traumas. Yep, this is what happens. They will use whatever is there to their advantage. But their goal is to deviate you from your spiritual quest. Not really to end your spiritual quest, but to send you into that direction which helps their agenda. Because there's many endless. What terminology will I use? Let's use a terminology like this. There has been in the last decades a very strong movement, in a sense, to infiltrate and twist spiritual groups, communities, big groups, individuals with this same agenda in mind. And I have seen the results of this. Many seekers with potential being fragile and powerless towards these things. And for what I've seen, there's not much to be done, because if they don't believe, there's not much to do. So in a sense, they have been doing a great job. So it's more or less, if it's flowing in that direction, I'm not sure if it is a direction. So if you're observing your spiritual path and your choices through your mind, that's not really the best way. Either you get your directions through your intense meditation. That is the most safe place for you to get your feedbacks and follow it. But there's nothing which is 100%. So it's a complicated subject, because it depends on you, your fragilities, the circumstances that are there in that intimate space, and the underlying potential of all of it also. So let's try to be more so mental suffering, a non-stop commentator with all bad, horrible thoughts and fears. Yes, it is true. So in this situation, practice non-reaction, not being impressed by that. And ultimately, always focusing on devotion and surrender. Holding on to God, not for fear of entities, not to run away from them, not to get protection from them, but to establish that continuous non-stop communion. This is how vibration rises. If it is not the purpose of it, and if it's not a way to run away, because if it is a way to run away, to fight back, to whatever, you're just keeping your vibration low. And as it is low, it is suitable for this. And a low vibration is not the only way to be subject to this, because there are stronger ones that even a low vibration cannot stop them. There are many things. I will not go into everything, but there are many things. But the more the opposition is, it gives also opportunities. And, well, for what I've seen, the biggest, what's on their side, what's more on their side and against you, is your personal weakness, your dependency on matter, your dependency on comfort, the seductions, the things you have been seduced with, that you're looking in the future, your difficulty into work. This is what they have into their favor. Because when this is not there, it gets to a point when things are in the right place. The only thing they can do to you is hurt you physically. Yes, it can be done by many means, not only energetic. Oh, I will not go into this, but it can happen. And it's the same. So you're hit somewhere physically, for example, your back feel like broken, you cannot walk. And well, so take a vacation, lie down, wait, it will pass. And you use that time to focus more and more in your work, in your devotion. So everything can be used in the right direction. So for example, they are more present in your life, it is more conscious, you feel their aggressivity. They are giving you an opportunity to think about God all the time. Because if you are aware of this, the opposite has to be there also. So it brings you from just a materialistic point of view of the world to something higher, bigger. So this is using it to your advantage. So the direction for someone who is experiencing this, in your case, you had a blessing, a vision, a sight of this profound experience that you have described here. Not sure if I read it, but okay, you know what I'm talking about. So you get to a point where, in the end, bottom line is you're having a choice. Either you serve these entities by doing what they want, or by stopping what they don't want you to do, or you use them as the direction. So what they don't want you to do, that's exactly what you'll do spiritually. So their power comes a lot from the absence of your complete dedication to the spiritual quest. You're keeping a lot of doors without understanding it. That keeps you helpless towards their actions. Probably your vision, your immaturity, this is helping, and you're involving with them in a sense that you are keeping yourself trapped at that level of reality, instead of moving higher and higher and higher. So, acknowledging these things and using them as a feedback is important, but this passion is very, very important. Not for fear, of course. Face this passion for fear because you don't want to feel that, you don't want to be in that situation. This will keep you there. But this inner space is not different as what you call this outer space. So when you're being hacked, it's because you're treating this inner space as different. And this is not you also. But as it is still your experience of me, then you have to work from that level of perception. And the more you dive, the more you turn your life into serious spiritual work, the better the chances you will have. But remember, you have to be willing to die if needed for your cause. If not, well, you'll just be another more chicken being raised just to serve as food for others. But you'll have your little life and your little comforts and your misery, of course. And the worst thing for a seeker of truth is, in this situation, is not fulfilling his spiritual purpose. So this will be the biggest emptiness of all. And it will bring other things, of course, other consequences. And these entities, they don't care about you. They will enter, they will rip everything apart, and if you behave nicely, they will leave you to rot in misery. They don't care. So this idea that, okay, I'll behave, I will stop all of this, I will be nice, and my little life will be preserved, everything will be okay. It doesn't work like this. It doesn't. I think that covers it more or less. If there's questions about this, please send them. I will answer them as possible. Okay, so another question. I will answer your question now. How are we to view pleasures in the gross sphere, Guruji? Is absolute abstinence necessary? Or is a more gradual approach also an option, given that the mind dwells on these things regardless of the body either indulging or abstaining? Would suppression do anything? I'm talking about pleasures of the flesh and other luxuries like food and rest. And even other mental pleasures like praise and approval. Some can be dealt with intention and practicing humility, yet the mind is still drawn towards many things. This passion isn't coming from within. Will it gradually come about? That depends on what you do with your time. In fact, well, there's a lot of things to be worked. Many things to be worked. And the biggest difficulty on working these different aspects is the lack of focus, is the amount of distraction involved. And why is the amount of distraction involved? Because you'll have many other aspects apart from your spiritual quest. So when your dedication to your spiritual path is unique, is only for that, your context is just for that, it becomes more easier because, well, you have nothing else to do. So you'll be more focused into that. And you need to use all your time. So what is suppression? Suppression means you're not giving expression to that. In terms of sanskars, what happens in suppression? You're suppressing it, and these superficial sanskars rise, and there's a medium urge to repeat that. You don't, that makes these sanskars to go away, and deeper sanskars, stronger, will come up, surface, and if you don't react to them, they will go away. Eventually they become so deep that they are so strong that you have to collapse. Sometimes you collapse, it's unavoidable. But you have won something, you lost something, but you have won a little bit. So just suppression, it's not constructive, but holding the impulses until you are able, that helps. At the same time, meditation has to become more and more intense. All the time has to be focused on this. And eventually, you'll put in your mind that you will not indulge in those behaviors. And it's like in the sitting position, you will not move until you cannot stand it anymore. But as you are moving your body or indulging, you will do it with awareness of what's happening. And also with that feeling that I don't want this. And eventually, gradually, you will be able to move on to this. Holding that aversion to what you're doing, it's not constructive in the sense of how it is explained. But if you're still not being able to push it aside, you will not be able to do so, to repeat it just lightly without any aversion. Because if you did, that would mean that, well, either you are too above that, and if you were, you wouldn't be indulging in it, or your nature is aligned with that behavior, and that's not really a good sign. So it goes. You have to be firm in it, but the reality, it goes slowly, bit by bit. If you are not firm, like I want to solve it today, then it will not even go slowly. It will not go, because you will just be floating around according to the intensity of the desire. When it is, when it's not strong, I will not indulge. When it becomes strong enough, I will indulge. And you will not be able to overcome it. So there's a big context surrounding these things. This passion is a mature aspect that starts to come when you do your part, that which is at your reach, at your level best. These are fruits that are more mature, that will come a little later. So you have to fight your battle, and this is about, it's not about sex, food. It's about stopping to be a puppet of these instinctive urges. Gaining freedom, small freedom, but still a big freedom, from these instinctive level urges. And this means conquering more and more silence, more and more stillness. This is what it means. So the level of importance of it is the level of dependence of it, is the level of strength it has on you. If you have any more questions about this, well, you can send. So coming back to our friend. Hello, thanks for sharing this. It's really helpful. I would like to ask you about meditation. Inside my head is like a mountain. The minute I close my eyes, I really can focus with the weight and density. And the throat area locking me up, I can sense all my body. I can't be conscious of anything else but the savage attacks. Yes, you are right. It seems like they are working in groups because they are intensive around certain people. I don't know if this is any way besides devotion like inquiry. I am really willing to die for this. Okay. Well, I will give you one thing for you to try. And if this doesn't work, you'll try the other one that I'll give you also. So you had this experience that you've described, that the space opened, my head got sucked into the heart. This experience is much alive. It is there. You can access it. Through memory, it is a living experience. It is there, you can touch it, you can go into it. So try to do this. Try to, you see, when you're reading a holy scripture or reaching a memory of a divine experience, you are entering that space of bliss. And as you remain there, it is purifying all else. So as you are there, access this memory, see it fully, and remain there. And if this is not possible, but don't try one or the other, try this for a level of time. And if this is not possible, so when you're going to meditate, and that should be, in your case, the majority of the time, because if the attacks are intense, your urge is intense. So you should be using all of your time for this. So use as much as possible. And as it is there, if attacks are coming, if you're being attacked, it is revealing you your presence there. The attacks are coming to someone, and there's something apart the attacks. So these attacks are also revealing that which is being attacked, your presence in the midst of all that intensity. So if the other doesn't work, just stay here. And the more they attack, the more they reveal this inner space, this silent, stay there. But try the other first. The other one is better for now. And don't try to defend from these things. Don't create animosity towards these beings. You're just giving them food. And let them share with them a little bit of your meditation. Give them a taste of silence, of peace, of love, of acceptance, and be there. Don't create this animosity. This is what they like. This is their game. But I'm sure that the way that you are using time is a big factor. And someone who is in this situation should be dedicating all its time. And if you're willing to die for it, so why wouldn't you be willing to live for it and use all your time just for that? So, coming back again to our other friend, I feel like I can relate with what you said earlier, that sometimes other energies push my being to different places. Out of nowhere, feelings of extreme lust come into me, and I'm very, very weak-minded individual. Well, it's very easy to say I'm very weak-minded, because that is a way to make sure that you can indulge. So this is more of a character situation than strength. Because if you're weak, you should be working to strengthen yourself. But if you're saying, oh, I'm just weak-minded, it's a way to keeping a door that you can use at will. So this is more about character than anything else. And lust is something that it is a strength that it is used by these entities, sure, but not just that, it is an unconscious strength, a power of nature that takes you over. And the more unconscious you are, the stronger it will take you over. So if you if you have noticed, sometimes there's these dogs, for example, that I have seen this. They get to a specific time of day and they start humping a pillow or something like that. And you take the pillow and they continue humping the air. It's like, and they are looking at you. Their attention is completely separated from that movement. That movement is happening by itself. They are being taken by something. Their bodies are being taken by something. Their attention is separated from that. They are not really into it. Sometimes they are, but other times we can see that they are not. Still it is happening. So there's many examples of this. It's not only entities. Sometimes it's just low level of consciousness. Just, it's not even that. Is lack of awareness, lack of presence, of being there, just being taken by instincts. Everything can be taken back. So my question, however, is, are there any physical means through which I can mitigate outside influence? Like fasting, of course. Fasting is a very big way to control lust, for sure. I don't know, but lust has many aspects. So the one who wants to control lust first has to take the foods out of lust. So fasting for food is important. Eating foods that are not hot, spiced, that don't stimulate, it's good. Reducing salt also is good. But most importantly, keeping your eyes out of objects of desire. Because even a random image of something that interests you or not really interests you will be held in your mind, and in a specific moment will come and will make everything intense, will use that image to stimulate that urge. So if you want to deal with this is why I say that you have to focus 100% in this, or else it's so many things that it just doesn't make a difference whatever you're doing. Like fasting, I don't know if what I can do can be called meditation, because all I do is think of God and sometimes God-man. No, that's not meditation. It could be if you do this 24/7, but what you're describing is not constant communion with that higher aspect. It's nothing. And one final question. What sufficient thoughts of Guru, Mahapurush, manage to bring forth deeper love? Well, I can see by the descriptions and the options that you give that you don't like to work. There's a very big difficulty into working, and you want to find something simple, something that can solve. But why? Where is your time being wasted, and if you don't want to apply? Without overcoming this, there's no. Would this purify me? And can I do this be called in a sense of service? Would this purify, or is meditation necessary? By meditation, I mean the type you do sitting in silence, devoid of thoughts, because I can only perform Rup Dhyan, taught by Kripaluji Maharaj. I have no idea. Nothing more at this point. I'm very unstable. Where stability gets conquered through work, that which apparently you have a lot of difficulty with this. So this difficulty rises because absence of self-control, absence of work and the will to do work, spiritual work. Because when you start doing this spiritual work, spiritual sadhana, meditation, eventually, slowly, bit by bit, you will change the nature of that mind and it will become more and more suitable. But the dreamers type, this is kind of a dreamers type. They just look for fancy solutions that solve things in a flash, because they don't want to work, they don't want to wait, because their time is being used to satisfy their lusts, their desires, their needs for comfort, their dependencies, and all of this. There's no magic solution, but hard work for these characters. And that's the reality of it. Like it, don't like it, doesn't change anything. Je vais répondre à ta question, mais je vais répondre en anglais. Après, tu peux voir le satsang avec le sous-titre. So, on talking about, let me translate this. I'm talking about constant no charge. Constant remembrance. You talk about the meditative awareness of instant to instant. May that bring that peace, that sought peace. Well, constant remembrance means constant tuning, constant remaining at that. Because this meditative awareness, meditative state is the continuous tuning, communion with that higher body of silence, of that divine presence. Not in a distance, but as you, as identity. Complicated. But here is the thing. Just remembering it and coming back to it, it doesn't mean that you are feeling this, that you are into this, and most importantly, that you are being taken by this, because this is what happens when everything is in the right place. So people jump into supposedly higher philosophies, but they don't become higher to them because they are not ready. So Vedanta may be a very high philosophy or the highest, but it needs the disciple at that level. And what it means is you need to have an amount of silence for this to be possible. And this you gain by this work that I've been talking about. Because as this comes, takes you in, your work will just be to continue there more and more, and not coming out from it. But it has become possible. But before that work is done, it's really not possible. So you're trying to establish into something that has no life of its own. And I'm not saying to stop, I'm saying to use more resources. So meditation has a very important role. And it is developing the meditative state that should go then take all the 24 hours available. And that takes time because impurities have to be purged out. I will answer your question now. Dear Shima, it seems that I go slowly. It's like I'm moving up a mountain, a vertical mountain. And before going out, I still am going down. Maybe not the best translation. Well, for you, I have to say that perhaps before you start going up the mountain, you must dive deep, more deep into your spiritual quest and asking yourself this question. This is the last time I will do this reference because I think I've given this reference to you a few times already. So if you're not picking up the reference, probably it's because you don't want to. So, one last time. The time that you are applying, what you're doing with your time is at most importance. And if you're not using your energies into the same direction, it will seem like an impossible task. So probably you should take care of that first. Can this thinking of God be called meditation if my breathing stops whenever I try this? There's a feeling involved. I do feel devotion, but in varying degrees, but it's not as intense as times, and it has me discouraged. I don't know what it has discouraged. There's nothing to be encouraged about. That is not meditation, has nothing to do with meditation. And that hope for it to become meditation is because you're avoiding the work. So, like every dreamer that is greedy by nature, you want the fruits, but you don't want to work for the fruits. And this mindset keeps you trapped in your own, what you call reality, like other mindsets keep other ones trapped into other reality/delusions. So this wishful thinking, it's like, I have a cup full of dust, but can't this be called water if at 5 o'clock in the morning I see a little moist in the glass? Can it be from the dirt? Can this dirt be called water? No, dirt is dirt. And if the air has some humidity that got stuck in the glass, it doesn't mean that's a glass of water. So, first things first. For you, intense work will be the key. And if you have these remembrances, then you can call it blessing. Don't take it as any kind of work from your part. If you don't learn how to work hard, you will not go anywhere. And the one who has the characteristics of being able to work intensely, self-sacrifice, if this is not a problem, then their level of work is naturally high. Well, yours has to be much higher than these characters, at least double. So compared with what you have, nothing. So there's nothing to be discouraged or encouraged. Either the work starts in a serious manner, you start learning to develop your capability to work, self-sacrifice, letting go of your attachments, of your dependencies, and dedicating your time to serious meditation, or you'll just be wandering about like the majority is, that share the same characteristics. It's as simple as that. There was a story about someone that was, a story from India that I was told one day, that there was someone that was contemplating on abandoning the world, but it had family and who would take care of them. And he was walking through the forest and he saw something unusual. There was a small fox there, a baby fox, lying on the ground, full of hunger. And then he saw a lion coming with a piece of meat, some prey or something like that, and he put that in the fox's mouth. So that got the person thinking. Probably nowhere in the world this happens, only in India, of course. This is why India is what it is. So let's continue with the story. So this seeker started contemplating on that and saw, wow, this is unusual. So everything is taken care of. And this, of course, transcended his thoughts about family and who would take care of them and went towards himself. So let me test this. And so eventually he laid down on the ground with his mouth open and he waited and waited for something to come, some food to come to his mouth. And he waited and nothing. and he was starving, and nothing. And eventually he heard a voice saying, "Don't be as the fox who sits with the mouth open, be as the lion who takes the food to other mouths." So, depending on the characteristics, those who have more difficulty in working, they expect things to come very easily to them, when their test, their challenge, is exactly the opposite. And it's about getting back their strength, their personal power, and this is very important for the journey of liberation. Let's see if we are done. Yep, no more questions here. Okay, so for today, that's it. Next satsang will be Saturday, 9 a.m. in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time. Make it real for you.